is it. Hello, Facebook. My name is Pete. That's Sue. I'm going to share this into the Rate Per Mile Master group because that's what we're doing this for. We're just going to talk for a few moments about how beautiful the weather is today. And speaking of the weather, isn't it beautiful?
It is beautiful, Pete.
See, this is way better with her here to talk.
Here in Toledo, Ohio.
So I'm going to share this, share, and do a group. The Rockinest Rocker Rate Per Mile Master group. And it's in. Oh, Bert Epps has a comment already.
All right.
I always love Bert Epps' comments. Oh, he's got a drive. No, me too.
How can he respond and drive?
Oh, different one. All right, so here's what we got. Somebody asked into the group, they said, hey, how do you become a freight broker? There's very few things that I know how to do. I'm not even sure I know how to become a freight broker. However, I can tell you how I became a freight broker. And then Sue is here because she's been with me since we became a company that became that brokers freight. And anybody wants to call in, I mean, Bert, you're a seasoned guy. Please feel free in a little bit here. That'd be awesome. So here's what we got. I don't know how far back you want to go, but I was kind of raised with, go to work every day, drove a straight truck for a while, worked in a warehouse. I should be talking to the camera. Somewhere around 24, the perfect job for me left. And I ended up saying, we don't want to go to school, so I decided to go to school because I wanted to learn more about business and how to keep jobs here. Because I was a guy who lost my job. And with that said, school was tough, and I was not really good at it. And I tried my best, but structure is not something I'm good at. Oddly enough, that's why freight brokering works for me. I ended up being a waiter, and I had a customer we used to deal with quite a bit, and he owned Camway Transportation, and to this day, they're awful good people. They were awful, kind, fair, decent, just good people, and I'm very happy I got my start there. Worked there for a few years, went on to a bigger corporate job, and they closed in 09. And in 10, Sue and I are sitting around, and it was my best option at the time, so we thought. And we thought we had a lot of money, which we didn't. We had, as she's laughing, I'm getting coffee. So
We cashed out.
well, I cashed mine out first.
Yeah, you cashed yours out first.
Yeah, it started with about $25,000-$30,000, and so that just kind of starts how we started Tadmore. And Sue, anything you want to say about that?
Well,
What's your background?
my background is finance. I did healthcare, financial planning, budgeting, reimbursement, that kind of thing, for about 7 years. Then I moved into a training, adult education, management, leadership, that type of thing. Had my own business for a while because I had 3 kids and one was very high need, and that was the most flexible thing I could do. But in, what year was that, 2008,
Yeah.
pretty much, everything sucked in 2008, and he lost his job, and I was barely making it in my own training company because nobody was doing training. When everything's bad, that's one of the first things they cut because they don't need it. And so we looked at each other and said, well, why don't we try this for a little bit? Let's see how long it takes us to go broke being decent to people. That was our, there's enough brokers out there doing crappy things, and we don't have to do it that way. And let's just give it a go.
So my first thing I thought was important was to have a really, really, really nice place to work, because I like to have a nice place to work.
You don't want to talk about the name?
We're not going to talk about the name.
Sorry.
I think Sue is referencing all the near misses for the names that we had. Sue and I are both adults, and sometimes we partake in inebriating beverages. And I will do this quick because I know you guys want to get to the gusto. And one night we were texting back and forth, and there were several near misses for names. Backdoor freight, door-to-door freight, lots and lots of.
There's a lot of fun that can
a lot
be
of fun
added.
names with the company. Tadmore is actually the name of my street. I wanted the company to be something that was a part of who we are, who we came from. My last name is Emahiser. I mean, outside of spitting on someone every time you meet them, I really don't want to. Hi, I'm Pete Emahiser. It just gets complicated. Not to mention the email address. So we went with Tadmore. It was not a very popular name. It was very Googleable. There's very low competition for it. And again, it's named after the street I live on. You can find him. I'm in Toledo. 150 years ago, we're in
Still
Toledo.
lives there.
It still lives there. 150 years ago, at the bottom of the Erie Canal, right where the Great East-West Road would meet the canal, which is now 70, just north of Dayton. There's a little park there now. But that was Tadmore, Ohio, and that was the big crossroad where the docks would come in and swap out the freight. And then 1,000 years ago, there was a place in Syria called Tadmore, Tadmor, and it's still probably there. I'm not really sure about that Syria, or that Tadmore. But that was, again, a good crossroad. So we figured it's kind of good.
Historically.
Yeah, kind of good
and
historically.
Personally.
Yeah, so we kind of came up with the name. So getting down to brass tacks, I mean, the first thing we did, I would make a really bad farmer. So I have to go to work. We got a building. I spent way too much time, and I mean that sincerely, way too much time working on the building. And Don Torek, we need help. Yes, we do. At Venus, is it any load boards for brokers? At Venus, we use Posted Everywhere, we use DAT, and we use Truck Stop, and I can get you those addresses. And they all have their own personalities and their own, how can you say it?
Audience?
Yeah, audience. The video we did 2 weeks ago actually talks about the different tools we use at Venus. And you can find, I'll show you, and I actually show how to use Truck Stop, ITS on there, and I believe we hit Posted Everywhere. We took possession of the building in February of 2010. It was a cinder block building, which we found out when spring hit was in the hood. We spent way too much time scraping the floor, getting the floor ready, buying stuff for the floor, painting the floor. She's laughing because everything was floor. We opened up.
Well, I was saying, why don't we go get some customers?
And I'm like, not until we have a nice floor. But truth be told, I wasn't really sure
What to do next. Yeah.
I just knew what we wanted it to look like.
Well, what about, you got all your licensing and your...
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, well, in February we started filing. Well, actually, January 1, we filed for the name. So, in order, fictitious name, we had to file with the state of Ohio in order to use the name Tadmore Transportation. So I, as Pete, now can use the name Tadmore Transportation. Tadmore Transportation, fictitious name, filed for Tadmore Transportation, LLC. And then I am the sole member of that. And that went through LegalZoom, and that was kind of a hubbub. And once we got that established, we then went to OIDA. I paid for we still pay to have all of our official documents signed, or not signed, but filled out. I know we can save $20. I know we can save $30, whatever it is. It's just too critical. And I just don't, just like the same reason I believe there's value in paying somebody who's a professional. Same way, the reason we pay our drivers a decent rate, because it just doesn't have to be filled out. It has to be filled out right.
Right.
The load just doesn't have to be delivered. It has to be delivered on time. And, it's just I believe in that. So, OIDA filled out the paperwork. Somewhere in early April, we received our MC 709413. It seemed so futuristic to see a 709 MC because sixes were just there. I came from a place that had a 3401, and 709 was just took the wrapper off of it. Next step was the bond. That was during a time when it was very, very difficult to get a bond. I had to own my own home for 2 years, have a certain amount of credit score, I had the money to fully collateralize it at that time, and even that wouldn't have helped. But Pacific did write our bond, and we were up and running April 23rd, 2010. We moved our first load in June of 2010. And she's laughing at me.
I try to forget that.
If we wouldn't have been scraping the floor,
Right.
we may have moved
The
freight.
floor looked great.
It did. We moved out of that office in September 11th of 2010. We moved downtown Toledo. It's amazing how fast time goes on here. If anybody has any questions, concepts, real quick, double checking the Bruce, the adult training help with Sue. That's nice, Bruce. Yeah. Yes, and we met because she was my Dale Carnegie instructor. Great name and background to it. Sounds to me like Tadmore Money. And I said, thanks, Bruce. Process, agent, bond, broker, contact, dispatch system, accounting system. Bert, nice work. Okay, so process agent.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you have a process agent when you have an LLC. See, Bert's got this stuff down, man. Process agent, we pay $275 or something a year to have it done. We've tried to make us our own process agent. We just haven't done the paperwork yet. I know we should. But if you have an LLC, you have to have somebody in each state that represents you in case there's a lawsuit. Bond, insurance. The bond, we talked about the bond. We have a BMC. We started with the BMC 84 when it was $10,000. We went to the BMC 85 when it went to the $75,000. I don't know why I'm still sold on it. I know it's cheaper for the BMC 84, but every time I call to ask questions, I always end up staying with the BMC 85. I'm kind of a boring dude. Excuse me. Insurance.
It's safer for the carriers.
That's what they tell us, because there's actually money in the account.
Yeah, it's not just a paper.
It's not just an
coverage.
insurance policy
You've got the backing.
that has it actually has money sitting in the account.
Yeah.
Insurance. Actually, I'm gonna jump over Bert and do it in the order that we did it. Broker contract. The first broker contract we ever had, I stole from someone online. It took me forever as I'm typing it in because I don't type, and Sue tells me that you can copy and paste in a PDF. And she found that to me around the
8th hour of your paper.
8th hour.
Yeah.
Bert, I got a question for you. I've actually been backwards. So when everything went goofy, and Bert, you can call in, dude. You're like a smart dude. And anybody can call in, not just Bert. But it's always been my understanding that the BMC 84 was much like an insurance policy. It's if and. And in 2008, a lot of the 84s went bankrupt because there was so many people who were filing on them. And I could be wrong, but
That's what I thought too.
yeah, check me on that. We are not experts on anything except for potentially mistakes.
We keep moving.
We just keep
Well,
moving.
we just keep.
So back with the bond insurance broker contract. The very first, can you grab the first master load list?
Yes.
Again, we started with a lot of hopes, dreams, and determination. The computers we bought a couple computers from Walmart. We had no load software. We had no concept of insurance. We had no concept of a dispatch system. We had no concept of an accounting system. And Sue's going to grab, you may not see this, but this is the very first load system, accounting system that we ever had. Basically, it had a load number, which started with the last 4 digits of my parents' phone number. Elmore, Ohio, which is our first shipper. It was Hay. He's now dead if you're trying to steal my customer. Going to Tazewell, Virginia. We billed $780. We paid $650. Carrier's name. So once I'm trying to remember how this went. Once we sent the bill, we circled the number. You can see the circles. Once we were paid, we check marked it. And then the same thing on the other side. When we were billed, we circled it. And then we paid it, we check marked it. And that was the original software, and there is coffee stains on this.
Those were the days, my friend.
Those were the days. I had no idea what load software we would use, or even if we could afford it, because by the time we turned around to afford it, I had sunk the majority of our money into scraping the floor. I'm kidding, but we
Pens.
We had pens. That's right. This is way better
fun.
doing it
Yeah,
together.
this really is fun.
This is awesome.
Oh.
Bruce, we do not do macro tracking. It's one of those things that we haven't. Maybe we should. We just haven't. I got ability to it. It integrates directly to it. We have been very, very, very lucky with awesome carriers like Larry Bloom, who just joined. Don Torch, of course. And these guys are just on top of it. I mean, people will text. People will text me at 2:00 in the morning, 3:00 in the morning. Have we lost a load? Sure, we have. Well, we didn't lose it, but you know what I'm saying. But not very often, and not enough to.
We try to do our due diligence on carriers and make sure we know who we're doing business with.
Right.
And when you find good ones, you stick with them.
We stick with them. And the majority of our freight goes on the same carriers again and again and again. I like things to be boring, and she's going to say, yes, I do.
It's okay.
That's right. And Bert's right. I don't know if it's expensive. I don't think it is expensive.
MacroPoint?
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
It's an outlay, but.
So I'm going to go back to the original timeline, which I need to go back up to Bert's comment. Because he's got a better outline than I do. The bond we hit on, the insurance we haven't yet. Broker contract, we stole the first one. It took us probably 2.5 to 3 years to have an attorney to go over ours and basically fix it and state that we weren't in Tennessee. Actually, we're in Ohio. The dispatch system, that was an interesting. We had what we called the master load list, and when she came on, because she's got a finance background, I'm showing her all these pages and pages and columns of data, and she's like, and what is this? I was like, okay, so when they pay, and it's in this column and in this column, and she's just head swimming, and eventually we kind of came to the same conclusion that it was the best process we had for the time.
Well, once it was on Excel, it was.
Once it was on Excel, it was better. The first time that she was down with me and I wrote a check, I had to hit print 7 times because of the software we had. And
the printer.
And the
it
printer.
was my mother's old printer.
No, the printer was.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And but she's like, why do you hit print 7 times? I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. But at the end of the 7th time, it prints. And that was a lot of the, anyways.
And the dot.
And the dot, what was the dot?
On the envelope.
Oh, and okay, you don't know this about me. I will drive home from work halfway, go back and pull the door.
On the office.
On the office. Yeah. So I would write checks. I would put stamps on them. And from day one, we always wanted to present bigger than we were or more professional, quote unquote, than we were. So I would make sure all the envelopes were printed. I never handwritten anything. I always made sure they would look like they were being produced from software. And the same thing with the Raycon. But then I would put the stamp on it, which is money. And then I would question if I signed the damn check. So if I signed the check, I'd put a little dot on the front so that I knew not to open the envelope again. Yeah, this is way more fun with 2 people like here.
I'm having fun.
I bet. So, dispatch system. The first software we were able to afford was ITS Dispatch. It was good. I liked it. I got no grief with it, but it wasn't everything we wanted it to be. It had to have integration with QuickBooks. And I'm going to jump this in with accounting system. The number one hardest thing you wouldn't believe is keeping track of the money. It's amazing, when you get dressed in the wintertime and, in your coat pocket you find a $10 bill. And you go, oh my God, $10, right? We have lost up to 10 grand here. Where you're like, well, where'd the 10 grand go? we found it, but it was, you know,
Spent.
it was for a few days. You're not really sure where it went or how it went. And Bert, I'm with you. I prefer the human element as well. I mean, I like talking to the guys. If a guy's in town, we just had Jason Baker stop through here yesterday. Went over next door, had breakfast with him. I'm a big fan. If somebody comes through, there's always at least one open parking place nearby. You know, it's good for a few minutes. Anybody wants to call in, please, please, please feel free. 419-724-1409, or else I'm just going to keep getting shit from her. So we get into software, and with QuickBooks, the first software we had was ITS Dispatch, and it was good. We now had load history. We now could produce rate confirmations. I no longer had to drive to work in order to send a rate confirmation because I could, you know, do it from the cloud or from home. That had a lot of value, and that kept us going for a little bit. We got reached out to from Ascend TMS. Decent product, actually better product now than it was before. We kind of got in at the beginning and kind of helped them with what we'd like to see in the program, and they were always very, very nice. An accounting system is important to keep up with your owed on paid, keeps your numbers real and your net revenue fairly quickly. Bert, I have no idea what you just said. We have what we call net float. I think we're saying the same thing. Because, and I'll tell you that story in a second. And actually, Bert, your timing's impeccable on this. So let me finish the software. We did Ascend, and it was okay. It was okay, and we were still using master load list, and we're still balancing manually.
And we were using QuickBooks.
And we're using QuickBooks.
So we were inputting a lot of the same information
at least 3 times,
yeah.
not 4 times.
Yeah.
And one of the things we do to balance is, like Bert was saying, know what you owe. You know, if we had paid for the freight, not paid for the freight. You know, so it's column G minus column, you know, it was just a huge mess. So in 2011, I had a snafu where I was ended up in the hospital, and it was bad. And we were down for basically almost 2 weeks. Nobody had any integration. It was just me doing everything. And even though Sue was by my side, she wasn't in the office, and she wasn't really involved. I mean, she was involved, but more of a, hey, honey, how was your day kind of way.
Right.
Not in a, you know, day-to-day. One of the promises that I kind of made to myself when we started the company was I would not ever ask her to financially be responsible or involved. Just because. I mean, it's just one of those things that's her life, and, you know. And in 2011, we lost 80% of our initial customers. We didn't write checks for a couple weeks. It was pretty bad. I mean, the money was there. But when I got out, the volume was way less. And that was the day we come up with what the term we call net float. And net float is the amount of money that is left after everything is paid. So if we shut the doors today, and Don Cartledge just got on here. Don Cartledge, I got to give him props on this, is hands down one of the smartest, kindest people when it comes to explaining numbers, why it's important. He's passionate about the numbers because he knows it directly affects his family. And I can't thank Don enough. And of course, Shane, thanks for coming in. Lonnie, kid I grew up with, very nice seeing you. So, and Lonnie and I used to have the same job balancing the books for the Blade years and years ago. It's a local newspaper. So we come with the term net float. So I figured out that if we pay everybody today, right, and everybody pays us whatever's left, and it was a negative number of $1,000, which is a very sobering moment when you realize that you have spent $1,000 that wasn't yours.
Over 3 years.
Right, but in the meantime, I've had every utility at my house shut off at least once since we started the company, and I was looking at a couple shut-offs, and it was a May 31st, and Sue called me, and I was an absolute mess, and she's like, what's going on? I kind of explained it to her, and she walked in with her checkbook, and she wrote off a check to get us back to balance. And that was the day that her life changed to the negative.
What was I thinking?
But we did it, and it took a little bit, and we went back to, I don't know, solving is positive, but we went back to positive. And 2013, we grew from a 350 square foot office to the one we're in now, about 3,000. And we got, I think 4 people work for us now. And today's Amber's birthday, by the way. She is 33 years old.
Yes.
She's 33 years old, very happy about it. You can tell in her enthusiasm. Any questions? Bert, I can't thank you enough for helping out on this. Any questions? Anybody? We're up at 24 minutes. Aaron Johnson, he's stopped by before.
Oh boy.
Yeah. But it's been fun. My weakest points to this day are still cold calls, are still sales. My weakest moments to this day are still quoting. I still want to quote things like it was 1999 and rates were good. I'm just not very good at participating in swill, and I'm not convinced we're going to. We just brought on Jimmy Rushton over in Pennsylvania, and he's doing his thing from over there. Bert, if anyone thinks it's easy, they need to pursue another career. I hear you, brother. I hear you. I've had cars repossessed, house foreclosed on. This is Bert. Gotten divorced trying to right this ship, borrowed $400 from my father to start it 15 years ago, and it's been one hell of a ride. I hope that in 8 years I'm able to say, I mean, it's Bert does good. Bert pays, and I'm trying to remember the name of Bert's company. Bert, type it up here. I know the name of your company. Doggone it. How do I not know the name of your company right off the top of my head? Anyways, Bert pays all his people in 7 days, all of his carriers. I've had different people I know I get a lot of publicity on the group just because I'm one of the moderators. I'm pretty involved. Bert's been in this as long as I have, at least. As far as the group goes, he's been brokering as long as I have, I believe. I mean, I've been in it since 98, 99. High Plains Logistics. I knew it's High Plains. I apologize. And he pays all guys in 1 day. Or not 1 day, 1 week, 1 week. DTMB, 1 day. Did a presentation in Vegas with Jimmy. And they do 1 day. But Bert's 1 week. We're still in the 22 to 23 day range, which, of course, the industry average is 38. Sue, smack me anytime or say something.
You're doing great.
Thanks. All right. Jessica in our office, we were talking to her a couple days ago, and we were explaining to her about bulk pricing, and we said about the Abbott and Costello skit. She's like, who? So that was fun. Nothing like being old, too. Any questions? Anybody? We're at 26 minutes. And Nancy, thank you. I appreciate for being impressed. Thank you. Nancy's my neighbor on Tadmore. I shouldn't have said where she lives, but Nancy's been a friend for a very, 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 very long time.
Hi, Nancy.
Pete just called and got screened. You might have gone over this already. Is Corey on hold?
No.
Oh. What qualities work for the sales side of things and looking for candidates?
As a broker?
As a broker or a care, I mean, I just think having your own agenda. One of the things that we've been very, very lucky here of late with employees is we have people who have goals and want things. You know what I mean? And they have an agenda. Jay's getting married here soon. Beth, of course, is very involved in she's very involved in her family. And today I'm awful at remembering people's dates, and Amber's birthday is today, and Beth comes in with this bag, and whenever you see the bag, it's a bag of goodness because it's ingredients, and she's just a kind person involved in her community. And she does the billing, of course. I think people who just have an agenda, people who just, Nancy says, hello. We have Bert F. Bert F's calling in. Give me 1 second here. Let's grab him here. Bert!
Hey,
What's up, big dog?
Hey, Bert.
you guys up.
So what's up? Hey, thanks for the assist, by the way. Sue says, hey, should we kind of sketch out all the steps ahead of time? I go, no, we'll just wing it.
Yeah, then you get on there and start talking. Yeah, I'm on TV. I'm good to go.
Right.
Oh, I just figured I'd call in and see if you guys had any questions that some people might need us to tag team on.
Well, here's one for you, and here's a question people ask me quite a bit, and maybe you don't want to spill it, or maybe I don't know if I can silence this. But you're involved in like big contracts. I'm not a big contract guy. You know what I mean? Is there any advice that you can give to somebody for going after the big fish? You know what I mean? I'm sitting on the side with 6-pound line waiting for that bluegill, and you're out there with sharks. You know what I mean? Is there any advice you have?
You're giving me a little more credit than it's due. My dad and I own a company together. My dad's full-blooded Native American, makes me half. I'm a United States veteran.
Okay.
So that those are large feathers in the cap of going after government business. And not just that, but being able to go in and present yourself from or to the shipping clerk to the CEO of the company. You have to be prepared to articulate with those folks and to be able to talk to the guy on the shipping dock at the same level and with the same level of respect and treat your drivers the same way. And I've found that is more effective in landing business than any system, brochure, card, anything I've ever done.
Sure. I think, and correct me on this, but I always tell people the number one thing that we sell is confidence.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'll buy anything if I know I get to sleep at night. You know what I mean?
And folks buy you more than they buy your service. When you call on a customer, if they like talking to you, and if you drop by, they're glad to see you, you're going to get their business.
Right.
You don't have to be the cheapest cat. You got to be the cat they like the most. That's my opinion.
Sure, and I'm with you on that. It's funny though, because the ones who the price, and that's a good point to make. And the ones who are only price driven, in my opinion, aren't worth chasing. Because eventually they'll end up in a position where they're going to call you and say, hey, or they're going to get somebody else in that chair. Yeah.
You go in and they say, oh, yeah, I need you to cover this Richmond to New York. I'm sure you do, and I can cover it. It's going to cost you some money.
Right.
I've been getting quotes of $800. Well, you need to run with that and tell me who did it, because I can't do it.
Right.
But if they, to people like you, and even in any agency you go to, you may not pull a load for them for a year, but you have to look at the long term. Is it worth me going there once a month and taking some donuts and sitting down and talking about the Redskins or the Ravens or whoever your favorite team is, even though I may not like them. I like them when I'm in there with them.
Sure.
That helps you build on your relationship.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you. All right. Well, Bert, nice finally talking to you. I've talked to you online 100 times, but never actually heard your voice.
Right.
You're much taller on the phone.
I sound a little more country on the phone.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that. But it's funny. I met Jason yesterday. He goes, "You seem much shorter on Facebook."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, thanks."
I'm a midget on Facebook.
All right, well, we're having signal issues, and it's 30 minutes. So I'm going to hang up with Bert, and I'm going to hang up with you guys. Bert, thank you.
Yep.
It's a pleasure.
All right.
Bye, Bert.
And anybody wants to put out, Neil, I'm still working on hazmat. Dude, I suck at this so bad. Corey, agree, back at you. Corey is down at the TQL Evansville office. Corey, check me if I'm wrong on this. But awful good dude. And I've had a lot of conversation with Corey after hours. I would vouch for Corey 100%. He's at the Evansville, Indiana office. Reach out to him if you need somebody afraid of TQL. I'm not saying that he's the only good guy. There's several there. So that's what we got. I'm going to wrap it up. It's 30 minutes. Please feel free to call, ask. And Bruce, thanks. The hell's that finish?